Hello everyone, I'm Bruffy1322 and this video will showcase the fastest cars in the GTA 5 utility vehicles class, organised by overall lap time, with the top speed of each vehicle also shown in order to identify any outliers. All 19 utility class vehicles have been put through their paces on my testing track and top speed run, and check out the intro video to this series as it likely answers any questions you have about this testing. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on future testing of new vehicles added to GTA 5 and beyond, and check out all other classes in the playlist. This video is brought to you by my second channel, Bruffy's Random Bits. Subscribe to it via the link in the description for random clips that don't make it to the main channel, as well as full-blown Let's Plays, with my current project being to play through all the GTA games before GTA 6. So we're finally seeing some really slow vehicles now that we've made our way to the final raceable class with utility, starting with the lawnmower, which is the second slowest in the entire game. It's actually quicker to get out and run rather than stay on the lawnmower if it's a possibility for you to get off. Next up, we've got the first of our many non-raceable utility class vehicles with the old rusty tractor. Now the tractor actually has slightly better grip than our next vehicle of the air tug, which has the slightly better top speed, but it's all fractional differences and ultimately they perform very similarly, so it's actually a bit of a shame that we can't race with the tractor, since it would make an extra vehicle viable in the D tier, in a class that's already quite sparse and difficult to find close vehicles to race with. The Fieldmaster that we're going to see next is actually the last raceable vehicle that we're going to see until we get to 6th place overall. So the utility vehicles class is a little bit weird, since it kind of can't decide whether it wants to be a normal raceable class like sport, coupes or compacts, or a non-raceable class like commercial, service or industrial. As it stands, utility is a raceable class in the game, but with only 6 raceable vehicles, 2/3 of the entire class can't actually be raced. Compare that to off-roads, where even though it has a higher number of non-raceable vehicles in total, that only equates to 1/4 of what is a much larger class. Utility by far has the highest proportion of non-raceable vehicles compared to the class as a whole, when not counting the classes that can't be raced with at all. Now, while none of these vehicles are particularly exciting, there's no real reason why they shouldn't be allowed in races, and considering the raceable vehicles are so far apart in performance that they basically each have a tier to themselves, which I am listing here despite organising a class by lap time like any other non-raceable class, it would have been nice to, pad out some of those tiers a bit with some of these non-raceable utility class vehicles. I think the class is also a little bit of a missed opportunity, with only one raceable DLC vehicle added to it over the last 11 years. Utility could have been home to a wide variety of vehicles that have been added in various DLCs over the years, but were put in other classes, most frequently off-roads. And it could have contained a really interesting variety of pickup trucks and other utilitarian cars that have otherwise just been shoved elsewhere into immediate obscurity. Even the Bison from 2013, which is almost identical to our number 1 vehicle that we'll see here in this video, was shoved inexplicably into vans instead of being put here. It would have been more beneficial for the cars themselves to be placed in a class where they wouldn't have been outperformed immediately by already existing cars in other classes, and it would have been more beneficial to the utility class as a whole, making it a much more interesting prospect to race with rather than being largely ignored as it is now. Like I said earlier, it's just a bit of a weird class, this one, and it really can't seem to decide on what it wants to be. And it suffers more than most, I think, from Rockstar's arbitrary decisions on what can and can't be raced with, as well as their frequent class allocation issues. Now I'll pick back up with the action here because the 3 utility trucks are an excellent example of how body shape and general features can affect car performance, since all 3 of them actually have identical stats in the handling data, which is why they all share exactly the same top speed. However, they are all shaped differently, and this affects their handling around the lap, with the shorter wheelbases and lower centres of mass translating to better cornering ability and better lap times, despite all having the same traction stats, for example. The pickup version is ultimately the quickest of the 3, mainly because it's the most like a normal vehicle, to be honest. And when it comes to the two caddies, obviously we saw the bunker version of the caddy earlier that was slower. The civilian version of the caddy that you might find around sandy shores has very slightly less grip than the normal version, but otherwise they are identical. They share the same handling data in most other areas, and they get generally the same sort of lap time as well. The regular caddy is of course the only one you can use in races, unfortunately, because it would be good to have a little bit of variety even if they are pretty much identical. Alright, we're into the top 5 now, and we're in tow truck territory, starting with the large tow truck. Now this is the version that is in single player. A 1 minute 35.8 is not a very quick lap time, but it's good enough for a top 5 in the class. And yeah, this is specifically only available in single player. We're not at the new salvage yard tow truck yet, but we will be seeing it very soon. And our top vehicles are all over 5 seconds per lap quicker than what we see here from the large tow truck. And they're all running pretty close together as well, which is quite surprising. Here is the salvage yard tow truck. Now, both the beta and clean versions of the salvage yard tow truck are identical, so if you're not bothered about how it looks, you can pay $500,000 less for the same performance by getting the beta version on GT Online. The newer salvage yard tow trucks are a lot quicker than the older single player large tow truck, even though they're basically copies of those large tow trucks in terms of, you know, the body shape and all that kind of stuff, but they are a lot quicker with a 1 minute 29 lap time. All of our top 3 vehicles are the only ones in the class that can be upgraded with the usual brakes, engine, transmission, turbo upgrades in Los Santos Customs, starting with the Slam Truck, which is in 3rd place for the class for lap time, but joint top for top speed, and in the A tier for utility vehicle races, because you can actually race the Slam Truck in a utility class race. It's rare to see that in this video. But yeah, a bit of a shame that it wasn't quicker than what it is, and also that you can't use the back of it at all. Now the small tow truck here in 2nd place for the class is only available in single player, but it is possible to upgrade it in Los Santos Customs there, which makes it the quickest of the 3 tow trucks for lap time and slightly behind the salvage yard version for top speed. It's a shame we can't race with it, as it would be an interesting one between this and the Slam Truck, which is slightly behind it for lap time but ahead for top speed. And it's also in general a bit of a shame that we didn't get this version as an option in the salvage yard itself, because it's much nicer to drive out of all the tow trucks. It is really the best one. Now we've got a bit of an interloper here with the Faggio, because this can be used in utility class races. It's obviously the slowest vehicle in the motorcycles class for lap time at least, and it's not very quick for top speed for the motorcycles class, but it is the quickest for top speed in utility vehicle races, as long as you get that wheelie with it and you know, keep bouncing that rear end on the ground. But yeah, a bit of an interloper with the Faggio, and then ultimately a good 10 seconds per lap faster than anything else here, and still holding the crown of the fastest car in the utility class since the game released in 2013. It's the Sadler. This is the last one standing of the original 2013 fastest vehicles after the Zion was dethroned a few years ago in coupes. The Sadler is basically at the top by virtue of being the most normal vehicle in the class. A 1 minute 18 lap time is still very, very slow in comparison to other classes, and it certainly wouldn't be at the top if Rockstar had decided to add a bunch of other pickup trucks into this class rather than stuff them in the off-roads class. But ultimately none of that really matters. The Sadler is still the number one, and if you ever come across a rare utility vehicle race, this is the vehicle to use for it. And as you'll see on this comparison between the Sadler and the Slam Truck, which are the top 2 raceable vehicles that are strictly in the utility vehicles class, it's a night and day difference. The Sadler is just basically quicker everywhere, and obviously the Slam Truck really struggles with getting around the corners because it's so long. And yeah, again, it just a bit of a shame with utility that it's not more fleshed out than what it is. There's so many pickup trucks that were just put into off-roads and even some other classes that if they'd been put in utility, it would have made it a much more interesting class to race with. As it is, you know, even though there are some raceable vehicles, I haven't even bothered to order this video by the usual tier system because there's just so many more non-raceable vehicles, and it's kind of bridging the gap between the off-road vehicles video, which was the last of the, I guess you could say, true raceable classes, and then the other videos that we're going to be having shortly after this with industrial, commercial, service classes that are not raceable at all. It's bridging the gap between those two, but yeah, the utility vehicles class, just a bit of a missed opportunity. I think it would have been nicer to have it be more relevant. And obviously we'll see here the final comparison between the Saddler and the lawnmower. I don't think we need to see all of this, but yeah, just for a comparison between the fastest and the slowest. And the Saddler's not very fast overall over the whole game, but it looks positively speedy when compared to the lawnmower. And that's everything for this video. Please consider supporting on Patreon or become a YouTube member if you want to support this work and get some extra perks for doing so, such as early access to videos and other testing results. Also remember to read the description for more info, comment with your thoughts, like the video if you enjoyed or found it helpful, and subscribe for more. As always, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.